Hey everyone, welcome to another lesson about Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. So today we're going to be exporting a photo for the first time. This is where you save it so that you can use it later, whether you are printing it or posting it online somewhere or just saving it on a hard drive. And I'm skipping some of these other more advanced topics, including just split toning, some other lens correction stuff, grain effects, camera calibration, which I'll be covering in future lessons, but I've covered basically everything that you need to know to fix your photos and make them look really great. Basically, all you need to do is fix exposure, add a little bit of contrast using the contrast and the other highlight, shadows, whites, and blacks sliders, playing with clarity depending on what you're shooting, vibrance, saturation, talked about that, or you can use the tone curve to do what you kind of did with brightness and contrast, and then adding vignettes. And so there's lots of other things we'll cover in future lessons, but I wanted to show you how to export first. So say you have one photo to export or multiple, you select them down here in your tray. So I'm going to say I'm done with this one. If you want to include another one, you can click one photo and then go to the last photo that you want, and you want all of them in between, and click that while holding shift. So click the first one and then the last one while holding shift. Or what you can do is holding down the command button or control button on a PC is just control or command click all the ones that you want, so they don't have to be all in a row. But I just want to export this one. So with that selected, I'm going to go up to File, Export, or you can press Shift Command E or Shift Control E, depending on if you're on a PC. And this export module pops up with all the options that you need about exporting. So first, you can export to hard drive, email, CD, or DVD. You're probably going to be doing hard drive. So under there you choose the location. So you can export it to a specific folder, which is probably typical. And underneath this you can choose. So I'm going to say desktop, photos to edit, and I'll say choose. I'll put it in a subfolder within there and I'll say exports. And that's pretty much all you need to know there. Then you can choose to rename the file. So I can rename it to the file name or a custom name or a custom name sequence. So say I say custom name and I want to do Europe. And this is a sequence, so it will start at 1, and when I save my next photo, it will be number 2. Down below you can choose your settings, so you can save it as a JPEG, a Photoshop file, a TIFF file, a DNG, or as the original image. So like we're saving it as a raw image if we save this as original. I would basically suggest doing JPEG for most cases. TIFF is going to be a little bit higher resolution and higher quality. It's just going to be a larger file size, but you don't need that for most applications. So I'd say JPEG. Quality slider, you can go from 0 to 100, but unless you're just showing a proof or a sample of your photo to someone, I would put it at 100. This next one is really cool because you can limit the file size to a certain size. So you can, instead of doing the quality bar, which really you don't know how big it's going to end up, you can limit the file size to 400 kilobytes or 1000 kilobytes, which is a megabyte. And this is good if you are uploading online or you just know that you have a specific file size that you're limited to. Image resizing is another way of changing not the quality but the actual size. So if you are posting online again or have some sort of reason that you need your photo to be 1000 pixels wide or 400 pixels wide, then it will basically save it as that length or that width. And you can change it depending on whether you want it to fit a specific width and height, or if you just know your long edge or your short edge. So say you don't care how tall it is, you just know that the width, assuming you are exporting a landscape photo, one with a wider width than height, say you know your width has to be 1200 pixels. Then you just click select long edge and 1200 pixels. You might want to make sure that you click this don't enlarge button, because you don't want your picture to end up being larger than it naturally is as a raw image. Because say you shot the photo and it's 5,000 pixels wide, you don't want to increase it to 10,000 pixels wide or even 6,000 pixels wide, because that will start to pixelate your photo. So resolution is another factor in how good of quality it is, and typically you have a range from 70 to 300, I would say, with 300 being super duper high quality. If you're printing out your photos, maybe set the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. If you're doing online work, I would suggest doing 150, and even typically you can just go down to like 70 for just posting online. I think that's fine. There's a last output sharpening option. You can choose to sharpen it for paper printing or for online, and you can change the amount. I wouldn't play with these because hopefully you've already sharpened your image within your editing. I'm going to skip over metadata because this is a little bit more of an advanced topic, and it really has to do with organizing your photos. Basically, metadata is information that is stored with your image file, such as the time it was taken and even the location that it was taken, or the lens that it was taken with, or the shutter speed. This is all metadata that you can add or remove. Watermarking is another cool thing to do if you want to put your name or logo on your photos, so that if you post online, someone can't just steal it and claim it as their own. People will see the watermark on your image and know that it was yours. So you can actually create a custom watermark by editing them here, going to edit watermark, and as you can see here, I'm going to increase the size of this so you can see you can create a custom watermark with different text, different opacity, etc. So that's kind of cool if you want to add a watermark. And the last thing is for post-processing. This is just after it finishes exporting, what do you want it to do? Do you want your photos to pop up in Finder? If you're on a Mac or on a Windows, it will probably ask if you want it to show up in your computer documents or in another application. So I'm going to go ahead and export this, and we'll see what it looks like. And up here on the top left, it will have a little progress bar. It goes really quickly if you only have one image. And now I'm in this folder, the exports folder, which is under my photos to edit, and it was titled Europe 1. The dimensions, as you see, are 400 by 267, and there you have it, my 400 by 267 image. Let me just go back really quickly and show you something. So say I have 3 images to export. Let's do these 3, and I'll show you what happens when you export multiple. So again, I'm putting it in subfolders, file naming, rename to Europe dash, I want to start with number 2 this time because I don't want it to copy over the other image. This time I'm going to change the width to 2000, so it's a little bit bigger. Resolution, we'll say 300, and that's basically the same settings as before. So now it's exporting the image up here. You see it going to work, and there you have it. It pops up. So here we have our export from last time, then our exports from this time, which look really cool actually. So I really love how that picture came out actually. I might like print that out and put that on my wall. Anyways, that's how you export from Adobe Lightroom, and if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you in another video. Bye.